In this episode of Vinyl Haul, I've got a good mix of speed and thrash, but also some epic doom and a little bit more. We might also discuss a certain Bay Area thrash band who just put out their 13th studio album. Now, will it be Unlucky 13? Well, stick around, let's find out. First up is the second studio album from American heavy speed metal band Solicitor. This is Enemy and Mirrors, released in 2025 by Gates of Hell Records. So the album begins with ominous soundscapes and a creepy piano synth passage for the less than 2-minute intro track, The Descent. But soon after, it's interrupted by a speed riff interspersed with cool harmonic shred and the utterly punchy vocals of Amy Lee Carlson, moving between aggressive power and strongly soaring melodic lines. I'm especially impressed with her vibrato note holds, but just the sheer strength of her delivery in general. To be fair, I'd like to hear a bit more in the production for those vocals, but she definitely holds her own in any case. As we get deeper into the record, we get a real variety in tracks, not just the usual all-out speed attack, but also slower intros, mid-tempo grooves, and atmospheric passages. A lot of this is apparent in the lead single Iron Wolves of War, but also in Spellbound Mist. And sometimes the atmosphere is subtle and in the background, but it really fills out the sound in so many of the tracks for sure. Also, solos from Patrick and Matt really run the gamut of styles, including melodic, creepy, groove-laden, and harmonic, but also fast and shreddy manic trade-offs. And for that, I would again refer you to Spellbound Mist. And let's not forget the bass, which can definitely keep up the pace, notably in Damon's speed gallop lines, We Who Remain. It's very much a more dynamic album than their 2020 album, Spectral Devastation, which I already gave a favorable opinion to some time back. In fact, hard to believe it's been 5 years since that record, but gotta say, it was well worth the wait. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 1 LP, blue transparent with black and white splatter, or Dark Night, limited to 250 copies. Also comes with an insert, picture of the band, some credits, and lyrics on the other side. Also get a cool sticker of the album artwork. Very nice. And I do believe there is a patch. There it is. There you go. As for favorite tracks, definitely Iron Wolves of War, killer song, also We Who Remain, and Enemy and Mirrors. Also have noted the final 2 tracks, Black Magic and The Devil's Hand, parts 1 and 2, which carry an almost classic Manowar epic power metal feel throughout their collective 10-minute runtime. It's mostly mid-paced and occasionally dramatic, but also punches in with some serious energy in its final act. Great way to end the record. Also, a lyric video is available for Iron Wolves of War. You should check that out at the Solicitor Speed Metal YouTube channel. So this band is definitely pushing forward with the increase in dynamics and nuance, all while maintaining their speedy, heavy, and melodic sensibilities. From that last album, of course. Ultimately, Solicitor is going into a direction that I'm genuinely excited about and hope to hear more of it in future releases. Next is the 20th anniversary rough mix of the 8th studio album from Swedish epic doom metal band Candlemass. This is Candlemass Polar Rough Mix, released in its original form in 2005, but now remixed and expanded upon in 2025 by Nuclear Blast Records. So it should be stated straight out the gate, this isn't a re-record of the White Album. These are the same recordings on that 2005 record, but simply an earlier mix of those recordings before things like overdubs, mastering, and various post-production choices came in. However, I wouldn't call this bootleg or even demo quality at all. I mean, it's rough as the title states, but it's also very listenable, and in fact still quite professional sounding for otherwise being considered a rougher mix. As a result, the sound has a real weight to it, which is perfect for doom metal. This is also the final album for vocalist Messiah Markland, who even in this mix sounds incredibly powerful. One detail I dig here are the moments of pre- and post-song incidental studio sounds, which give off that whole kind of you are there feel to the recordings. Very cool. Also in this anniversary edition are demo versions of Black Dwarf, Spellbreaker, Witches, and Born in a Tank. They too sound pretty great, and I might put them in the strong demo recording category in terms of overall sound quality, but the performance is definitely there as well. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 2 LP, clear with black and white splatter. The second record looks just like this one, but with white labels instead of black. There you go. So it comes in a gatefold jacket with full lyrics, as well as picture of the band and some credits there. As for favorite tracks, definitely the rough mixed versions of Black Dwarf, Witches, and Spellbreaker, as well as the demo version of Black Dwarf. Did I mention I like Black Dwarf? It's probably one of my favorite Candlemass songs. Also, much thanks to Marty over at the Metal Marty Mac YouTube channel for showing this record some time back, which is the reason why I grabbed it at the record store very, very recently. Go check out Marty's channel as he talks about a whole lot of really great metal albums. Good stuff there. So anyways, if you're a big Candlemass fan and you're amenable to a version of the album that's less processed and favors more low-end heft to it, you might want to pick this one up. Though if you're more about balance, clarity, and polish, you may or may not gravitate to this recording. Since I'm much more the former, I'm definitely glad I got this one. Much better than a total re-record, which I probably wouldn't have wanted. That, and you get the 4 demo tracks too, so bonus. Next up is the debut full-length studio album from American power speed metal band Savage Grace. This is Master of Disguise, released in 1985 by Black Dragon Records. So the album begins with a barrage of drums and machine gun riffing with a clear early Iron Maiden influence in there, but it pops up a lot throughout the record as well, noticeably in that twin guitar assault of theirs, as well as some gallop riff moments. That intro track, known as Lion's Roar, leads straight into Bound to Be Free, and right away singer Mike Smith is trying his very best to channel the great Ronnie James Dio. He's decent to pretty good, but certainly no Dio. He brings in the aggression at times, but also with some harmonic backup vocals, which differentiate him from that comparison. He can also hold a note pretty well when he needs to and has a solid falsetto scream. Not quite Jeff Tate solid, but well on its way, to be fair. However, one thing the record suffers from is substandard production. Drums are at times a bit overbearing, and levels in general seem almost peaked out, so a little noisy, but it also adds some rawness to the record that might hold some charm for some. Also catching a lot of gallopy bass guitar work, so there is some bottom end here. Really dig when they pick up the speed, and Sins of the Damned is a great example of that, but other tracks certainly follow. Also, the guitars work really well together, providing a wealth of up-tempo riffs, but also some cool twin harmonic attacks. Drumming is also dynamic and at times wild and unhinged, but certainly focused. Though again, having them consistently less intrusive in the mix would have improved matters. Still, not really a deal breaker. Of course, we should talk about this album cover. Is the cop a porn star from another planet or some sort of shape-shifting demon with a fondness for motorcycles? Who knows? The cover did gain some controversy in its time and would likely attract more of that attention were it to be known about. There was a far more explicit alternate cover photo on a picture disc variant released in the US that same year, which a Google search will bring up if interested. What's funny is that this cover might lead some to believe that this was a hair metal album instead of being a power speed metal record. In any case, some folks find this cover offensive, others find it ridiculous, and still others are likely wondering what the hell is going on with these two. But anyways, vinyl variant is 1 LP, classic black as you would expect. And since it's on Black Dragon Records, that makes this a French pressing specifically. Also comes with an inner sleeve, lyrics and credits on one side, lyrics and more credits on the reverse. Favorite tracks, definitely got them. Fear My Way, awesome song, also Sins of the Damned, and Master of Disguise. But especially Sins of the Damned, definitely check that one out first. So although it's not often spoken in the same reverent tones as their contemporaries such as Omen, Agent Steel, and Hellstar, Savage Grace fits neatly alongside these bands and delivers on some seriously catchy speed metal with some power metal strains throughout. Check it out. Next is the 9th studio album from American technical death thrash band Revocation. This is New Gods, New Masters, released in 2025 by Metal Blade Records. So the album kicks in straight away with pounding drums and accenting power chords, transferring to rapid double bass and staccato riffing in the opening title track. Then it jumps to off-kilter time changes along with gravelly and shouty vocals and quickly altering drum patterns, all of which lets you know that this album will not sit still even for a second. The record continues on a technical and progressive path with some solid sweeping solos while still remaining quite heavy. Definitely some remnants of their thrash leanings from before, but also a generous amount of down-tuned guitars, chugging and palm-muted riffs, and rapid tremolo picking, as well as some gallops and blast beats. Of course, as the complex riffs and drum pattern shifts, so do the moods here. Groove is often interrupted by more blistering motifs, which can then shift to something else entirely. It's still Revocation, but now pushed into some newer territory, likely in part because some of the guest appearances that happen on the record. Speaking of whom, we have Travis Ryan of Cattle Decapitation doing guest vocals on Confines of Infinity, Johnny Davey of Job for a Cowboy doing guest vocals on Cronenberg, Luke LeMay of Goreguts doing guest vocals on Buried Epic, and Gilad Hexelman performing guest guitars on The All-Seeing. And although the balance between the more established Revocation sound and the newer elements are struck well, I do find fewer moments of memorable songs compared to their last album, Nether Heaven. I especially disconnect when things get too proggy and even border on jazz, such as The All-Seeing, though thankfully that level of deviation is not a common occurrence. I mean, the memorable moments on the album aren't totally absent, but it might take them another record to contend these new additions with their established sound, maybe in order to bring back some of that lost catchiness. Anyways, vinyl variant here is 1 LP Amber Marble, or the All-Seeing variant. There you are. Also, insert rather. It's not an inner sleeve. Lyrics on one side, lyrics and credits on the back. As for favorite tracks, Dystopian Vermin, pretty cool. Also Data Corps and Cronenberg. Also great title, Cronenberg. But anyways, also music videos are available for Confines of Infinity, Dystopian Vermin, and Cronenberg, as well as a lyric video for Sarcophagi of the Soul. You can watch those at the Metal Blade Records YouTube channel. So while I might have preferred the comparative simplicity of this band's past efforts, there's still a lot here to like. In terms of catchiness and connection, I do find Nether Heaven to be a more accessible record for me, but that doesn't negate the enjoyable moments on this latest record at all, because I did have favorites, as I mentioned. Even still, I probably need to give this entire record more of a chance. Next up is the 17th studio album from British gothic metal band Paradise Lost. This is Ascension, released in 2025 by Nuclear Blast Records. So a sustained guitar note fades up and is joined by subtle ambient elements, interrupted by synth and mournful guitar wails. But then the drums kick in and Serpent on the Cross begins proper. It's slowly paced at first, but soon enough brings in a chugging riff and up-tempo drums. Nick's growling vocals then come in, similar to those in the final song on Obsidian, almost connecting that album to this one in a certain sense. Overall, a very strong opener. The album continues with Tyrant's Serenade, and we get some of that classic playing from Greg with more somber tones. Nick brings back some cleaner but still deep vocals here, mixing with his death growls, and even some crooning for the choruses, but also showing some of that typo negative influence from the past. As the album progresses, there are certainly heavier and doomier elements, and these are where the more crushing moments occur. But there is also a lot of atmosphere going on, and it seems the sorrow and tragedy take root in those passages the most often, and Salvation certainly takes advantage of both. Here's where I'm also reminded that Nick shows quite a bit of range, both in vocal style as well as overall delivery, and it really provides some dynamic strength to the record throughout. He sings a lot more, which might have some of the death metal purists running for the exits. However, that's not me. I love this stuff. Then there's Silence Like the Grave, which admittedly has some angry Hetfield worship in the verse vocals, but then pulls away from that with the growly choruses. Track has a more rock vibe through it, though Greg's solo bits and the dark choruses keep it somewhat grounded to the band's core sound. The clean singing returns, albeit in semi-ballad form, for the first half of Lay a Wreath Upon the World, which also has some intermittent heavy parts with a lot of punch and emotive soloing. The second half of the album revisits some of these already established styles, including Nick's Hetfield thing on the track Deluvium, the ethereal power goth ballad Savage Days, which seems to have a mood connection with Ending Days from their last album. I don't think that's a coincidence. Also, yet another brief return to that Metallica vocal style for Sirens, though Nick's more expansive vocal palette is vastly superior to James, hands down. And then on to Deceivers, which is a crushing and satisfying gothic rocker, And then the final track, The Precipice, which ends on a melancholic and gothic ballad note, with Nick effectively alternating between crooner cleans and death growls. This is also where we get some of Greg's most moving guitar work, notably in the solos. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 2LP olive with brown marbled, limited to 600 copies. And the marbling is there. It's a little subtle, but you can see it. Also comes in a gatefold jacket. Pic of the entire band. Very nice. You also have an insert in here somewhere. There it is. Full lyrics on one side. Credits, pics of the band, and all of that on the back. Favorite tracks, definitely Serpent on the Cross, very cool. Tyrant Serenade, probably one of my very favorites, and Deceivers. Also, music videos are available for Serpent on the Cross, Tyrant Serenade, and Silence Like the Grave, as well as a lyric video for Lay a Wreath Upon the Cross, or Upon the World. Why do I keep thinking crosses? I don't know. It's Paradise Lost, right? Anyways, find those at the Nuclear Blast Records YouTube channel. So as some might remember, I was a huge fan of their 2020 album Obsidian, and yes, that's a 5-year gap between the two records as well. And while some of that album's melodic and gothic doom sensibilities are here, there's also some aggressive riffing and thunderous drumming in many tracks that provide heaviness in that direction as well. Given that, I very much love this album, though I might prefer Obsidian by just a hair. Next is the 13th studio album from American thrash metal band Testament. This is Parabellum, released in 2025 by Nuclear Blast Records. So a quick drum roll and we're thrown right the hell into the record with the track For the Love of Pain, a pummeling thrasher with rapid-fire drumming and equally rapid-fire vocal lines from Chuck, full of deep growls and even some accompanying black screeches in the back. This is probably a good time to mention the death and black elements on this otherwise thrash metal album, which incorporates those styles well into their sound. Of course, it's still very much Testament, so melodic flourishes and solos will be here as well. And check out the second song, Infanticide AI, for all of that, but certainly other tracks too. It certainly has one foot planted firmly in its classic sound, but also adding those heavier elements, including blast beats, rapid staccato riffing, a few Gojira-style pick scrapes, and a fairly beefy production. However, I should point out the power ballad here. It's called Meant to Be, and we're certainly getting shades of similar attempts such as Return to Serenity from The Ritual or the ballad from Practice What You Preach. But even with the moaning guitar accents, sweeping synths, and schmaltzy lyrics, it's actually pretty decent. But only if you're open to this kind of track from Testament in the first place. Some are, some aren't. Again, they've done this before. I'm even catching some more traditional metal riffing in tracks like Witch Hunt and Nature of the Beast, the latter which with a bit of groove. And if it isn't already clear, the album has a lot of peaks and valleys with a range of tempos and moods, all while very much remaining a Testament album. As for the title of this record, it's taken from a longer Latin proverb, Si vis pacem parabellum, or if you want peace, prepare for war. A pretty apt statement. Also, drummer Chris Dovas replaces Gene Hoglan here, because Gene is currently back in Dark Angel. As Gene's replacement, I'd say he measures up pretty well against an already incredible drummer, so good choice there. But other than that, it's the lineup that you'd expect. Also, artwork by Ellering Cantor, yet again. Not as moved by this piece, especially the one on the back cover. I mean, kind of lame to be honest. And the front cover is clearly playing off the cover for Practice What You Preach, both compositionally and tonally, perhaps for nostalgic reasons. Who knows? Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 2LP copper, with similar disc labels on both as well. Also comes in a gatefold jacket, picture of the band, credits, and all of that. It also has a really cool booklet right here with the cover art, but also some pics of the band, some lyrics. I won't go through the whole thing, but you get the basic idea. As Alex and all that. Good old Steve. And the rest of the lyrics on the reverse. Very cool. Favorite tracks, definitely For the Love of Pain, the opener. Solid track. Also Infanticide AI, probably one of my very favorites here. And of course, Parabellum. Also, music videos are available for Infanticide AI, Shadow People, and High Noon. Check those out at the Nuclear Blast Records YouTube channel. So, yet another band in this haul with a 5-year gap between albums. So, I don't know, not really unexpected for Testament because a few of their previous records had a 4-year gap, not to mention the massive 9-year gap before that. At any rate, this album shines best on the speedy and more crushing tracks, still does pretty damn great with some of the more mid-paced efforts, but maybe has a few bumps in the road in the middle third that are competent, but not stellar. Overall, I lean a little bit more towards their previous album, Titans of Creation, but still digging a lot of what's here. Overall, a worthwhile listen. So just another item I picked up that I have less to talk about, but is certainly worth showing. This is Dio, the Unholy Scripture, the complete unofficial chronicle of Ronnie James Dio's solo canon by Martin Popoff, and published in 2025 by Schiffer Publishing. And for complete transparency here, the publishing company did send me this book free of charge as a review copy. Just know that. But being a fan of both Dio and of Martin's work, I would have likely bought this anyways. So very cool. A couple of things I noticed right away about it. The design scheme is very much akin to another publishing company I know about called Taschen Books. They do a lot of retro style books, but the layout is very similar. Also, the quality of the bind in general is pretty similar to that. They do a lot of limited run books. They're usually very expensive. This one is about $45 US, it says on the back, but it is pretty hefty. There's a lot here. A lot of great pictures. I'll just show you some of the stuff that's in here. You can see some of that similar layout there. Like Martin's books, most of them, he does go album by album, and he does that here in this Dio book as well. Very cool. It does look like he goes back into the pre-Dio a little bit. Prophets and Elves is chapter 1, so you know, kind of expect there. Just to show some of the pictures. There are a lot of pictures in here. A little bit of one of Viv there. And all that. As many might know, I did meet Ronnie James Dio in 2002. It was really cool. It's an after-show thing in Montreal. Great guy. Very amenable. Signed stuff for me. Did pictures with me. Did a video ID for my public access show back then. We talked for like 20 minutes at a cocktail table, just him and I. And it was funny because towards the end of that, I kept thinking to myself, am I hogging his time? Because there were a lot of people there. I think he stayed there till like 3 or 4 in the morning, meeting every single person, you know, and all the stuff you ever hear about Ronnie, you know, being this very amenable guy, being very gracious with his fans. Totally true. I'm not going to show too much more. It's very dense with text as well. There's a lot to read here, for sure. Little Craig Goldie there for you. Very cool. So I am pretty excited about reading this book. Killing the Dragon, speaking of which, was the tour I had seen Dio on in 2002. I believe it was 2002. So very cool. I'm not going to go through everything here. And like Martin's books, again, there's a discography there for you. He likes to do that with every album. It's very album-centric in a lot of ways. A lot of Martin's books are like that. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know what much more to say about the book other than I'm really excited to read it. I do have Dio's biography that he wrote himself. I guess he wrote it himself. Haven't gotten to it yet. It's a much smaller book than this. This is quite the read, as you can see. So I'm pretty excited. Just reading the back here. From epic stage performances to backstage dramas, experience the full spectrum of Dio's roller coaster ride through the annals of rock history, from the formation of the band through Ronnie's death in 2010. I don't know if I showed the back cover there very well, but there you go. So yeah, pretty excited to read this. Right now I'm reading another one of Martin's books. I'm reading Black Funeral, the history of Merciful Fate and King Diamond. It's really amazing. I'm almost done with that. So I am pretty excited to get to this one. I have so many books to read. It's crazy, but definitely excited about this. So Dio, the Unholy Scriptures. Check it out. So another month of almost new releases. Definitely going to be spinning a lot more of that Paradise Lost record, as well as those from Solicitor and Candlemass. Great stuff. Definitely let me know which of these you're excited about, but also if you have other favorites that just came out. Of course, if you just want to chat about what albums are keeping your attention in 2025, you can do that as well, or anything else that comes to mind in the comments below. And if this is your first time to my channel, my name is Matt. This is the Accusation Network, where each and every week I do videos on metal vinyl collecting, but also classic and modern metal in general. If you like the sound of that and you have yet to subscribe to my channel, please hit that button. It'd be great. Also, maybe like this video and share this and other videos of mine out with your friends on social media. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.